Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Flagrant Talk Sports Podcast. It's Moses here alongside the greatest co host on the planet, Isaiah Gessner.
How are we doing, everybody?
Man, good to be back. We got out our official bracket video yesterday, if you
Yep.
missed that. After the weeks of bracketology and preparation, we finally reached Selection Sunday and got our hands on the bracket, which is a doozy.
Yeah.
Thankfully, today, we're not picking teams. We're just giving some Cinderellas / dark horses that we think can go deep in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Zay and I each have 3 teams for you all. We did this video last year as well. So a familiar one for the channel, but had to bring it back because who doesn't love a Cinderella? Who doesn't love
Course.
a dark horse? They always happen in the tourney and none of us know who they are, but we're going to give you our picks and we're going to hope for the best. But Zay, what do you got for the people?
Yeah. So, again, thank you for all of the love on our recent videos, everything like that. The way we're doing this, we're doing Cinderella / Dark Horse. We don't have any top 3 seeds in this when we're talking about a Dark Horse. So, a Dark Horse to us is 4 and up. That doesn't mean we think that team is going to win a title, but it means they can go to the Final Four. A double-digit seed that we have here can make it to the Sweet 16 or Elite Eight and stun some people. That's the way we've defined it. Um, Another thing connected to this video, we have an ESPN bracket. It's already starting to fill up. We just kind of threw it together last minute, but we want as many people in there as possible. It will be in the description, and I will pin it as a comment as well. There's no password. Fill out some brackets with us. See how well you perform. See yourself outperform Mo and I, and then have the ability to say, "Hey, remember when I did that?" We love to see that. Also, I want to shout out Jay Clean on our last video. Um, Gave us just some amazing comments, some deep and rich insight of teams, and we love that. You don't have to agree with our picks. You don't have to agree with our teams. That's what makes sports so fun.
Yep.
But when you can come at it from an analytical standpoint, or hey, this happened and this is why I think I feel good about this team, that's what sports, and especially this time of year, is all about. So thank you all for tuning in. Join the ESPN thing. Let's get it going. Let's see how many brackets we can have in there as possible.
Yeah.
And Moses, let's get it started with your first Cinderella team, really.
Yeah, let's this is definitely one of the probably bigger Cinderellas we have on this list. I believe just looking, they're the
Yeah.
highest seed, or if not tied for the highest seed in the list. But starting it off, I have the Texas Longhorns, and I know a little bit scary considering they're not even in the tournament yet. We're going to see them face off tomorrow in the first 4 against a really, really good Xavier team out of the Big East. But I have Texas winning that game. I believe Zay had Texas winning that game.
Mhm.
If they can win that game, get a very solid matchup against Illinois, who, as we've talked about, has been very boomer bust. But focusing on the Longhorns here, 19 and 15 overall on the season, 6 and 12 in the gauntlet of the SEC,
Yeah.
but good enough to get in apparently. Just a quick season overview. They lost their first game of the year to Ohio State, proceeded to go on a 7-game win streak until a 10-point loss versus UConn, who was still ranked at the time. After that, a 4-game win streak before starting conference play 0-3. Those 3 teams, Texas A&M, Auburn, and Tennessee. So really, really tough, but little scary not getting any results there. After that, a couple more 3-game losing streaks that put this team on the bubble, including a loss the last game of the regular season at home versus an Oklahoma team who made it in. The reason I would say this Longhorns team is here is because of the SEC tournament. Big win in round 1 against Vanderbilt, a massive win in round 2 against that Texas A&M team who beat them earlier in the season in double overtime, I might add. And then came to a halt against the team that made it to the final in the Tennessee Vols. But I believe this tournament run for the Longhorns got them in. They haven't earned it fully. As I said, they got to play in. But
Yep.
I'm trusting Trey Johnson, the 6'6 freshman phenom who is going to be a first round pick this year. 20 points a game, 3 rebounds, 2.8 assists. We'll call it 3, a steal, 42.7% from the field, and 39.2 from 3. He is their guy. If this team is going to go on a run, he is going to be that March Madness player that we've seen throughout the years that has carried their team, hit those big shots. I believe he's going to be the guy. The rest of the team filled out by transfers. Pope, an Oregon State transfer. Kaluma, a Kansas State transfer. Mark, an Arkansas transfer. And Cedric, Virginia transfer, who, if you recognize Cedric, he was part of that Virginia team that lost in the first round to Furman. So hopefully this time he's on the right side of history and his Longhorns can go on a run.
I remember, totally random tidbit, I remember picking Furman in that and being like, "Hey man, I know Virginia's good, but this Furman team is serious."
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love the Texas pick. As we know too, anytime one of these first 4 teams gets a win and plays their way in, they build that momentum and historically have gone on to win a game or two.
Yeah,
I think it's totally possible for Texas or Xavier to do that. I think it's possible for San Diego State to do that as well. So it's going to be interesting to follow those first 4 games. Love Trey Johnson. I think this is a totally interesting and a pick I could see, given the way their offense can really boom over the course of the season and being battle tested in the SEC. Um,
absolutely.
I'll go to my team next, and this is not a Cinderella team. This is a dark horse team. It's the highest seed we're going to talk about in this video. I have Maryland, the Terrapins. This has been a team that I have talked about all year long. Mo and I have had talks about it all year long, where it's so interesting to see a team built like this, where their starting 5 in the country is, to me, the best. It's it's from 1 to 5 solid. You have pro talent there. You can shoot the ball well. You score a lot. Like, you have all of the makings of this great team. And then players 6 through the bottom are borderline irrelevant on the team. The Terrapins are a team that is not deep, but they are so talented where they are. Spoiler for our bracket video, so I'll give you time to click off if you want to see our video without the spoiler. I have the Florida Gators winning a title. Now, it's possible for Maryland to play Florida in the Sweet 16. I spent serious time considering the Terrapins, who I believe can make a Final Four run this year. I think that is their ceiling, and I don't say that lightly. I really think the Terrapins are that dangerous. 18th in the country in points per game, 6th in the country in average scoring margin at 14.7. They're 34th in allowed points per game at 67. They pass the ball well, 79th in the country there. They rebound solidly at 36.7 per game. They're just a solid team across the board. They shoot the 3 ball well, 37.2%. That's good enough for 29th in the entire country. Um, Hold their teams as well to a mid shooting of opponents' effective field goal percentage at 47%, 27th in the country. This is a team that has the stats, it's got the analytics, and most importantly, the players in that starting 5. Derek Queen, if you have not seen him play, That brother is incredible. He's a walking double-double machine, can give you 20 against any opponent on any night. Julian Reese is a problem as well. Him and Queen can really get at you down low. They rebound the ball well. They can get physical in the paint. They can step out and knock down a three. It's a solid team across the board. Selton Miguel and just all of these other pieces in that starting five are great. I like this Terrapins team. And if you want a pick that isn't Florida, and if you can stomach that, which I'm still considering, I think the Terrapins are a good bet to make a Final Four if you don't want to pick a 1 or 2 or even a 3 seed to make it that far.
I really love this pick, man, as a dark horse. As you said, starting five, the best in the country. All five guys average double-digit scoring. Love
Mhm.
the two-headed monster in Queen and Reese down low, man. This team's a problem. So
Yeah.
I'm on board with you there. For my second team, we'll put them. I feel like it's not a Cinderella because they're an 8 seed. But if they can get past the 1 seed that they would face,
Yep.
the Louisville Cardinals are a Cinderella story. I'm calling them my dark horse pick, my second team on this list out of the ACC. 27-7 on the year, 18-2 in conference. Season overview again for this team. Split the first 2 games of the season. Their game 2 loss coming to Tennessee by 22. So really tough early on there for the Cardinals, but this team is streaky as they get. A 4-game win streak after that, including against number 14 at the time, Indiana, and a West Virginia team that should be in the tournament, who had Tucker DeVries back then as well. So very impressive win. Followed by a 3-game losing streak versus Oklahoma, versus Ole Miss, and versus Duke. Really tough there. After that, splitting the season, next 2 games against UTEP and then an L at Kentucky Wildcats. Then they followed this up by a 10-game win streak,
Yep.
just cooking every team in the ACC conference, losing at Georgia Tech. Kind of a tough loss there, but again, as I said, this team is streaky. They followed that up with an 11-game win streak into the conference tournament
Mhm.
where they fell short against the Duke Blue Devils in the final. They've lost 2 games since December 14th. This team is unbelievable, led by the veteran seniors Terrence Edwards, JMU transfer, averaging 16.6, 4 boards and 3 assists, as well as Chucky Hepburn, 16.2, 3.5 boards, 6 assists, and 2.5 steals from Hepburn. This team is really damn good on both sides of the ball. They made it to the ACC final without their best shooter, Rain Smith, a guy who makes it
Wow.
rain from deep, nearly 38.3% on the year from him. And he's attempted nearly 100 more 3-pointers than any other guy on this Louisville team. So that's going to be a big add for them in this tournament. Confirmed that he's coming back. I believe Zay and I both had them against Creighton in this 8-9 matchup.
Yep.
Then they're going to run into the wagon of Auburn. But as Zay and I have also talked about, they're kind of on the fence. They're kind of in a downward
Mhm.
spiral, the Auburn Tigers. Louisville is going to be at home basically in Lexington, Kentucky. That is the big thing for these first 2 games if they make it past Creighton. I really like the Cardinals to be a sleepy upset in round 2, man.
Yeah, I like it as well. We talked about it in our bracket video, but like they to me were underseeded. I think they're more of an 8 seed or excuse me, a 6 seed than they are an 8 seed. But the committee almost made up for that by saying, "Hey, you get to play in Lexington, Kentucky." I mean, I'll take that.
Yeah,
Screw the seed. I'd rather play in Lexington if I'm
hmm,
Louisville. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, this is a very solid Louisville squad. I love what Chucky Hepburn is as a player. Both sides of the basketball definitely has the potential of being one of those players that we talk about post tournament that shocked Auburn, who has lost 3 of 4. We've seen that they're human. They didn't look human all year. They looked like Superman, but
Yep.
now they look more like Clark Kent. It's
Yep.
like we can beat Clark Kent. We couldn't beat Superman, but we've seen him bleed now. So
Hmm.
if you're Louisville, you got to go into it with that mentality. Creighton is a great team as well. They got to win that one first. I believe that's the first game of the tournament. So what a game to start with.
Yeah.
But I'm very, very intrigued. I like the Louisville pick. And I'll
I
transition here. Oh,
I
go ahead.
forgot to add real quick. Javon Hadley, Colorado transfer, was on the team when they made it to the second round of the
Yep.
tourney a few years ago. I forget who. Believe they beat Boise State in the play-in. I forget who it was in the first round, but they made it to the second round of the tournament. So they have experience. They're a veteran group. I'm liking the Cardinals, man.
Yeah. I really like this pick for you. And the next team is, again, not a Cinderella, but a dark horse to make a deep run in the bracket. I have the BYU Cougars as a 6 seed. They will start off conference play. And to me, what is, or not conference, tournament play. And to me, what is maybe the best game of the first round. BYU against 11 seeded VCU, the Rams, who I absolutely love. It breaks my heart that I have to send one of these teams home without a win, given how much I've enjoyed seeing them both play this year. But this Cougars team, they're serious. They're a real juggernaut on the offensive side of the basketball, and they are no slouch on the defensive side as well. They're led by Richie Saunders, of course, giving them 16 points, 4.4 rebounds, 1.6 assists per game. The Cougars as a whole, 23rd in the country in points per game at 81. 20th in the country in average scoring margin at 10.1. They're winning games in convincing fashion in a tough conference in the Big 12. They've made the tournament both years. They're 8th in the country in assists at 17.2, top 50 in rebounding as well, 7th in effective field goal percentage. They're a wagon on offense. They can easily dump 90 to 100 points on an opponent, especially when they're hitting the three balls at the rate that they do, shooting 33rd in the country in that department. And they are 6th in the country in 2-point field goal percentage, making 58.6% of their shots. The analytics love this BYU team, and I love the roster that they have overall. They've got multiple bodies. They can run an 8, maybe even 9 man, but I'd lean 8 man rotation in the tournament. They've got some very solid guard play. They're able to rebound with the best of them. And I overall just like that this BYU team has a star that they can rely on, but has the pieces outside of that that can cause serious harm. I know BYU's tournament history is rocky. Could this be a similar team? Maybe. But for me, again, spoiler for our last video, Mo and I both have this team going Elite Eight. We put our money where our mouth is with these picks when we say they're a dark horse. And if I'm being honest, if they play Duke, there's a real chance they can walk out of that with a win. So I love this Cougars team. They're a serious threat in, to me, the East, which is wide open due to Duke being banged up, Bama being banged up, Wisconsin to me being overseeded. I think this is wide open, and the BYU Cougars could benefit the most from that.
I really agree, obviously, having them in the Elite Eight, dude. I like both of your picks. Two different squads, Maryland
Yeah.
being the starting five and BYU being the depth.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, nice if you have both, but this
Yeah.
team, unbelievable. Richie Saunders, as you said, stud. And they can put it up against anybody. So
Yeah.
I'm really liking the pick there. My third and final team is similar to my first squad in that they are streaky. And that team happens to be in the Midwest. Or no, sorry.
I think you're
I'm
east with
lost.
me on the
Oh
BYU
yeah,
one.
I am. I am east with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Oregon Ducks sitting at 24-9 on the year, 12-8 in conference play. Their two pieces, the keys to this roster are the 7-footer, the senior who has been with Oregon all 4 years of his
Yep.
career, Nathan Biddle from Central Point, Oregon as well. Averaging 14 points, 7.4 boards, 1.9 assists as a footer is awesome, and 2.2 blocks as well. And similar to another West Lynn point guard who played for Oregon, sophomore Jackson Shellstad has a chance actually to get some shine in the tournament from West Lynn. As I said, 13.2 points per game, 2.9 rebounds, 2.7 assists, and a steal. This team, very, very streaky. It's been up and down all year. 4-game win streak here, 5-game losing streak there, 8-game win streak here. Just kind of all over the board for the Ducks, which is the worrying part. But they have depth. TJ Bamba, ex WSU Cougar, was their
Mm-hmm.
best player his last year before transferring out. The third best man on this team. He's a senior with unfortunately no tournament experience, I don't believe, but
Mm-hmm.
very, very solid, well-rounded team here in the Ducks. And yeah, man, I missing my note on where they went out in the, I think it was the second round to, I just had it. Yes, the quarters, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, to Michigan State by
Mm-hmm.
10. They virtually knocked Indiana out of this tournament as well with their second round victory over the
Mm-hmm.
Hoosiers. But this team, they can make it to the Elite Eight, Final Four, or they can get upset by Liberty. It's
Yep.
definitely the scariest draw I would say I have out of
Yeah.
uh, my three teams.
Yeah. I love this Ducks pick. And again, the East region, us going back to back, wasn't even planned, but it's wide open, man. I
Yeah,
could totally see this 5-seeded Ducks team making it on a deep run. We know their tournament success in the first round, and I wouldn't be surprised if they take that and carry it on and are able to rack up a couple extra wins. Obviously, going on a run in last year's tournament and with some returning talent from that roster. Um, the final team that I have and the final team of this video, this is my true Cinderella, and it is a popular one, and it's a popular one for good reason. I have the 11 seeded Drake Bulldogs, one of 6 teams in the country to rattle off 30 victories. And like I always say, we're used to seeing Drake in the tournament. They've kind of become a mid major staple where you see them in, they're a double digit seed. They could cause problems, all of those things. And that isn't any different this year. But it's a totally different regime. You have a different head coach who is coming from the D2 level, who won multiple titles there. And most of his roster, I believe they only have one returning player from last year on the entire team. All of those guys are D2 transfers that he was coaching at the time. They come in year one and rattle off 30 victories and win their conference. This Drake Bulldogs team is led by, of course, Bennett Sturts, who is incredible. If you have not seen him play yet, you are in for an absolute treat in that game against Missouri. He can drop 20 to 30 on any opponent at any night. He is a certified bucket. Some of the shots, Mo and I have been watching film on all of these teams, are from legitimately like feet beyond the NBA 3-point line. Like, Sturts plays with a confidence. He's a very sound playmaker and is clearly the head of the snake with Drake. However, it's not just him. They do a great job at scoring the ball and scoring it efficiently. They've won 9 of their last 10 games going into this year's tournament. They've been a sound team across the board, and they're very solid at forcing these tough shots on the perimeter for teams that they're playing against, where nothing's going to come easy for a Missouri, and it's not going to come easy for any other team that they play. They run a deep rotation. They can play up to 10 guys. In the tournament, you'll probably see that squeeze down more to 8, but they have the depth. If a guy gets in foul trouble, especially the guard play that they have where they can rotate through those guys often, it puts them in a good spot to where foul trouble will not hurt them as badly as some of these other teams. Obviously, if it's to Sturts, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But this is a Drake team that I think is solid. You have multiple guys who can score the ball outside of Sturts, and I think could be poised to make the second weekend yet again. And that says a lot because I really like this Missouri Tigers team. So I've got Drake as my last team and the true Cinderella that I am highlighting in today's video.
I love it, man. I fully agree because I am very high on Missouri as well, but this Bulldogs team is set for just to make a little bit of noise in the tournament, I feel like.
Yeah.
And yeah, if they could get through that round and go up against a Texas Tech team who has been solid, but they're also very beatable, Drake, as you said, could be dancing to the Sweet 16, but
Yeah. Yeah, I think too one of the things to go back to Sturts, and I'll highlight him in this next video we're gonna do, but leads the team in points, leads the team in assists, leads the team in steals, just an all around great player. And one of those names, when you're thinking of names and you're filling out your bracket, make sure to have him in the mix as you were doing so. But yeah, those are our 6 teams. Let us know your Cinderella teams or dark horse teams, whatever you want to call it, that you could see going on a deep run. And again, before we sign off, join the ESPN League. We're not sponsored, so we're doing this for the love of the
no.
game.
Mm-hmm.
Just fill out a bracket. We'd love to see what you do. Comment
Yeah.
how you're doing throughout the week and everything like that. And before we sign off, you know what we got to do. Song of the pod. Mo, what have you got for the people today?
For Song of the Pod today, I have Jumpin' off of Cardi's
Nice.
Music, I Am Music album. Unbelievable. Uzi, just a little throwback vibe. I feel like he killed this album. And yeah, man, really, really liked it once I finally tuned in.
Yeah, I ironically enough have a song off that same album. I have Olympian by Playboy Cardi. It's a banger song. That beat is
Float.
amazing.
Oh my, yeah.
Yeah, that I think even if you're not a Cardi fan, that is one that you would enjoy because it's just so melodic. It's so good. But
Yeah.
that's the video. Please tune into our next one. We're going to be doing the same thing, but highlighting players to tune into. As you said, I may have said one that you will be seeing in that video next.
Yep.
We can't wait to see you guys fill out those brackets. Good luck, and we will see you in the next video.
Later, everybody.
Peace out.